Hey, it's a dark episode for November the 19th, 2022. J.K. Rowling is someone who came into my life in about the 90s, where, goddamn, I can't even remember what I read. I read one of the very early, probably adult enthusiasts, probably on the newspaper or something like that, or maybe it was during like a children's book discussion on the CBC, and they were talking about the Harry Potter books. And I was like, oh, well, that sounds kind of fun and cool, and something that I would have really loved to have as a child. I was definitely in my 20s at that point, late 20s, somewhere in there. And so I picked it up, and I picked up that one, and then got Janine into it, and we read the first two, and we actually went to a midnight opening of the children's bookstore in Vancouver, and picked up number three, The Prisoner of Azkaban. We were like adults who were like into children's books, and this was the point where you were like, you would be embarrassed by that. So we waited for the crowd to kind of swoop in and get theirs, and then we kind of came in a little bit later, got ours, doodled off. Ja read it first because Ja was the fast. Remains probably still the fast reader in the household, and so we read all the Harry Potter books. And indeed, um, it's one of those things where my father-in-law was actually reading, who's a guy who's really smart guy, but smart in that really like he can fix anything. He was a steam plant engineer before you had to go to university for it. Indeed, he went to university and he bounced off of uh, English courses. Fucked him up. He wasn't able to stay in university because it's just like English was not going to, that bounced him off. So he went into an apprenticeship program and became a completely indispensable steam engineer for power plant. Basically, he kept that thing running super efficiently. Everyone basically kind of, went to him with any troubles. He could listen to that fucking plant and would get it. But unfortunately, he retired. That was the unfortunate part, but immediately was pretty quickly after that diagnosed with cancer. And he, for his kind of one of his comforts, was reading the Harry Potter books. It's just kind of a really light escape from all this. And I think you know it's so it was a really kind of a warm, great thing in our lives. And I have not read J.K. Rowling now for a good many years because as things went along, J.K. Rowling became more and more into kind of what's into a thing called turfdom, exclusionary radical feminists, which kind of this weird offshoot of feminism where they they have taken against trans people, saying that they're intruding on real women's lives, real women's spaces, that and putting forward just a lot of really hurtful stuff against a minority that gets, women in general totally agree with someone like J.K. Rowling, get horrible shit. But trans people get more. And, and trans women of color especially. But she started really pushing this sort of stuff, and it started out slow, but it's become more and more and more virulent, stuff like that. And it's just like, I can't support an author like that. I've still got those books, the Harry Potter books, but I have not pick them up, have not discussed them on any public channel for years now. And it's like, fine, if you want to read her stuff, that is fine, that is up to you. But it's like actively putting money into that woman's pocket is actively funding her unfortunate, really tragic campaign against trans people, which is just like, fuck. It's just, it's so shitty. And unfortunately, she's shown herself to be full of a lot of hate and anger, and it's really gone out on these people and on people who dare, question what she's doing. She's been used her riches and her influence to try and shut that down, to unleash her followers on it. It's just really crappy shit. I think this came out around, it came out, but I became more aware of this after the first Fantastic Beasts movie. And that's the last thing that I ever saw of her, I've seen of hers. And, I think, her mysteries and stuff like that were never particularly my thing. Mystery where one of the mysteries, there's a killer who dresses up in women's clothing and goes into women's spaces and murders people. It's like, she says, oh, that's not a trans person. It's like, yeah, well, that's basically what you've been calling trans people all this time, saying that they're going to go into women's spaces and rape them. It's like, Jesus Christ. So that's all lead up to say I'm reading Harry Potter at the moment, except I'm not reading Harry Potter. One of the people that I'm working a group home, and one of the people I read to them every night, and they picked this book. And, this is, someone who has no clue of that situation. It's not going to really, not it. Their fandom is quite pure and unsullied by that. So that means if they want to read that book, they're going to read that book. And it's interesting. I mean, I'm fine doing it. I'm actually, J.K. Rowling wrote some fun books, and they're fun to read out loud. It's just interesting getting to hold that and kind of experience that through this resident, while at the same time, outside of my professional whatever, my work, my outside of my responsibilities, this is their house, I'm here to help them do what they want to do, because there's people with developmental disabilities and stuff like that. It's interesting to have the two sides, I guess, is what I have to say. That's like I'm experienced the enjoyment of J.K. Rowling through this resident, while still at the same time knowing kind of what reprehensible and shitty things that this person who wrote this fun book that actually did have very positive, warm influences on my life is unfortunately doing really negative, nasty shit to people, to trans people. Yeah. So it's just holding that in there, and I figured I'd just express that in a little dark episode. More videos later.